A billionaire met a poor single mom. What happened next shocked everyone. The security guard at Harrington Tower couldn't believe what he was seeing. Standing in the pouring rain outside the building was the owner of the entire tower. Alexander Harrington, a billionaire worth over $8 billion. But he wasn't getting into a luxury car. He was kneeling on the wet pavement, helping a stranger change a flat tire. And what happened after that moment would change 3 lives forever. Before we continue, make sure to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more powerful stories that remind us that kindness still exists in this world. The rainy night. It was 11:30 at night when Sarah Matthews was driving home from work. Sarah was a single mother raising her 7-year-old daughter Emma alone. During the day she worked part-time at a grocery store, and at night she worked in the cafeteria of Mercy Hospital. The long hours were exhausting, but she had no choice. Emma had been diagnosed with a rare autoimmune disease 2 years earlier. The treatments were expensive, and the medical bills never seemed to stop. That night, the rain was pouring heavily as Sarah drove past Harrington Tower in her old Toyota. For weeks, a warning light had been blinking on her dashboard. She ignored it. She always ignored it. Because fixing the car meant money she didn't have. Then suddenly, boom! Her tire exploded. Sarah slowly pulled the car to the side of the road. She looked at the flat tire and sighed. Just perfect, she whispered to herself. She stepped out into the rain and opened the trunk. Inside was a spare tire that looked almost as old as the car itself. Her hands trembled as she tried to loosen the rusted bolts on the wheel. But they wouldn't move. Minutes passed. The rain soaked her clothes completely. And Sarah felt tears mixing with the rain on her face. Not because of the tire. But because life had been this hard for so long. Inside the tower. High above the city, in the top floor office of Harrington Tower, Alexander Harrington III stood near the window. At 45 years old, he had built one of the largest technology companies in the country. Magazines called him a genius. Investors called him unstoppable. But at that moment, standing alone in his massive office, he felt something else entirely. Empty. His assistant had gone home hours earlier. The divorce papers on his desk had been waiting for his signature for weeks. Outside, rain covered the city in silver light. That's when Alexander noticed something below. A small figure standing beside a car, struggling with something. He watched for a moment. Then another. Finally, he grabbed his umbrella and headed to the elevator. Even he didn't fully understand why. The first meeting. Sarah didn't hear the footsteps behind her. She was too focused on the stubborn bolts. Then suddenly a voice spoke. "Need some help?" Startled, she turned around. A tall man in an expensive suit stood there holding an umbrella. "I've got it," Sarah said quickly. Pride was the only thing she had left sometimes. But instead of leaving, the man placed the umbrella over her and knelt down beside the tire. "I insist," he said calmly. He reached for the tire iron. "I'm Alex." Sarah hesitated before replying. "Sarah." Within minutes, the man had loosened the bolts and replaced the tire. His suit pants were soaked with rain and mud. Yet he didn't seem to care. "Where were you coming from?" he asked. "Work," Sarah replied. "Hospital cafeteria." "And where would you rather be working?" he asked. The question surprised her. No one had asked about her dreams in years. "I was studying to be a nurse," she admitted quietly. "What happened?" Sarah looked down at the ground. "My daughter got sick. Life happened." Alex paused for a moment. Then he finished tightening the last bolt. "The card." Alex stood up and wiped his hands. "That spare tire won't last long," he said. Then he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small business card. "Call this number tomorrow. Tell them Alex sent you. Sarah looked confused. I can't afford. Don't worry about that, he said with a small smile. Then his phone rang. He glanced at it and frowned. I have to go. And just like that, he walked back toward the tower. Sarah looked down at the card. And her eyes widened. The name printed on it read, Alexander Harrington. The billionaire who owned the entire building behind her. The next morning, Sarah almost threw the card away. But Emma had a doctor's appointment later that week. If the car broke down again, they would be stranded. So she called the number. To her surprise, the dealership told her to bring the car immediately. Not only did they fix the tire, they replaced 2 worn brakes and repaired the engine warning light. Completely free. When Sarah picked up the car, the manager handed her an envelope. Inside was a note. Life happens. Dreams shouldn't have to wait. Below the message was something unbelievable. A full nursing scholarship, funded by Harrington Enterprises. And a job offer with flexible hours. Sarah sat in her car staring at the letter in shock. The meeting. 2 days later, Sarah stood nervously inside Harrington Tower. Emma held her hand tightly. Mom, Emma whispered. Does a prince live here? Sarah laughed softly. No, honey. Just someone kind. The elevator doors opened. And Alexander Harrington stepped out. His serious face softened when he saw Emma. You must be Emma, he said warmly. Emma studied him carefully. You don't look like a prince. Alex laughed. I promise I'm not. Becoming family. What began as a business opportunity slowly became something more. Sarah worked incredibly hard. She finished her nursing degree while raising Emma and working part-time. Alex watched her determination with admiration. Emma also became an unexpected part of his life. Her honesty and humor brought warmth into his quiet world. For the first time in years, Alex felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Purpose. The treatment. One day, Alex received incredible news. A medical research team funded by his company had developed an experimental treatment for Emma's disease. It was risky. But it offered hope. When the treatment finally began, the months that followed were the hardest Sarah had ever experienced. Emma became weak. Some nights Sarah thought she might lose her daughter. But Alex was always there. Late-night hospital visits. Phone calls. Support when Sarah felt she couldn't go on. The miracle. 3 years later, the doctors finally said the word Sarah had prayed to hear. Remission. Emma was finally healthy. They celebrated with ice cream in the hospital cafeteria. Then Emma suddenly looked at Alex and asked, Are you going to marry my mom? Sarah nearly dropped her spoon. But Alex smiled. I haven't asked her yet, he said. Emma nodded seriously. You should. You make her laugh. A new beginning. 6 months later, Alex and Sarah were married in a small ceremony. Emma proudly walked down the aisle as the flower girl. Soon after, they created the Emma Matthews Foundation, helping single parents with sick children. Scholarships. Medical support. Childcare assistance. Everything Sarah once struggled to find. The lesson. Years later, Alex stood by the window of their home looking at the city lights. I almost didn't go down that night, he admitted. Sarah smiled. But you did. Alex nodded. And it changed everything. Because sometimes, the smallest act of kindness, on an ordinary rainy night, can change lives forever.